The large screen showed stars moving past as the Earth ship slowed down. Eric Barnes stood tall as the ship reached the meeting point. This was humanity's big moment. After years of work, humans had finally built ships that could travel faster than light. Now, they were about to meet the Galactic Council for the first time. "We're here, Ambassador," said the ship's captain. "The Council station is sending docking instructions." Eric nodded. He smoothed his uniform and looked at his team. Lisa Nichols, their legal expert, checked her tablet one last time. She had studied space law for 20 years, though until recently it had all been theory. "Remember," Eric told his team, "we represent all of Earth today. We're here to listen, learn, and protect our interests." The ship docked with a soft thump. When the doors opened, Eric saw aliens for the first time in real life. The Zithari representative, a tall blue being with 4 arms, waited for them. Its skin looked like it was made of fine scales that caught the light. "Welcome, humans," the alien said through a translator. "I am Sorlak, voice of the council. We have waited many cycles for your species to join us among the stars." Eric stepped forward and bowed slightly. "Thank you for your welcome. I am Ambassador Eric Barnes of Earth. We are honored to be here." The tour of the station amazed Eric's team. 32 different species from across the galaxy had representatives here. Some looked almost human. Others were so different that Eric couldn't tell which part was their face. The station itself was huge, with gardens, living areas, and a massive chamber where the council met. In that chamber, Eric and his team took their seats. The council members sat in a half-circle, with the oldest species at the center. Sorlak explained that the Zithari had founded the council 40,000 years ago. Since then, they had guided younger species into the galactic community. "We have prepared the Standard Integration Treaty," Sorlak said. A document appeared on the screens in front of the humans. "All new species sign this to join our peaceful community. It outlines resource sharing, technology exchange, and defense arrangements." Eric nodded to Lisa, who began to read through the document carefully. The council members watched, seemingly confused by the delay. "Is there a problem?" asked a green, plant-like alien. "The treaty is standard. All species sign it upon first contact. On Earth, we read agreements before signing them," Eric explained politely. An hour passed. The council members grew restless. Finally, Lisa looked up, her face serious. "Ambassador," she whispered to Eric, "this treaty is terrible for Earth. Section 12 would give them access to all our resources with minimal payment. Section 17 limits our shipbuilding. Section 23 would put their advisors in our government." Eric frowned and read the sections she pointed out. His face grew hard as he understood what the treaty really meant. Earth would basically become a farm and factory for the older species. He stood up. The room went quiet. "Respected Council," Eric said firmly, "Earth cannot accept these terms. This treaty would make us second-class citizens in the galaxy. We came here as equals, not as servants." A shocked silence filled the room. The council members looked at each other in surprise. Some seemed angry, others confused. "Reject. No species has ever rejected the integration treaty," Sorlak said, voice cold. "This is how the galaxy works. Younger species receive guidance and protection. In return, they contribute resources to the greater good." "That's not what this says," Eric replied. "This treaty would take Earth's freedom and resources. We will not sign." Whispers spread through the chamber. Several species seemed uncomfortable with the human response. "This is unprecedented," Sorlak said. "There are consequences for non-compliance with council directives." "Are you threatening us?" Eric asked, keeping his voice calm. "I am stating facts," the alien replied. "The galaxy has order. That order must be maintained." Eric gathered his papers. "Then we will maintain our independence outside your order. Earth thanks you for this meeting, but we must decline your offer." As the humans left the chamber, Lisa whispered, "What happens now?" Eric looked grim. We go home and prepare. I don't think they'll accept our decision easily." Behind them, the council erupted into argument. For the first time in thousands of years, their perfect system had been challenged, and they had no idea how to handle it. 6 months passed since humanity's first meeting with the Galactic Council. Earth had used that time wisely. In a large room at Earth's Space Command Center, Admiral Susan Kelly stood before a table of military and science leaders. "The message just arrived," she said, her face serious. "The Council has sent us an ultimatum. We must sign their resource-sharing treaty within 30 days, or they will place sanctions on Earth." The room grew quiet. Everyone knew what sanctions would mean. Earth was still new to space travel. They needed materials that could only be found on other worlds. "What exactly does the treaty ask for?" asked one of the leaders. Susan picked up a tablet. "They want 30% of all metals we mine, 40% of our rare elements, and rights to build bases on Mars and our moon." Dr. Alan Wright, Earth's leading xenobiologist, spoke up. "This is actually less than they usually take from new species. They must be worried about something." "About us," Susan said with a small smile. "Our scouts have been talking to traders from younger council species. It seems humans are different in an important way." She pressed a button, and a brain scan appeared on the main screen. "This is a human brain during combat simulation. Notice the pattern of activity." She pressed another button. "And this is a Zith-Eri brain. See the difference?" The patterns were completely different. Where the human brain lit up in seemingly random places, the alien brain showed ordered, predictable patterns. "We've compared scans from all known species," Dr. Wright explained. "Humans are unique. Our brains work in ways that the Council species can't predict. It makes us dangerous to them, especially in battle." "Is that why they seem so concerned about us rejecting their treaties?" another leader asked. "Exactly," Susan replied. "Most species evolve to be either logical like the Zith-Eri or instinctual like the Vrel. Humans blend both in ways they've never seen. We're unpredictable, creative, and adaptable." On the other side of the galaxy, a Council intelligence officer named Vex Moore was giving a similar report to the Galactic Security Committee. "Humans are different," the officer explained, showing brain scans similar to those Susan had shown. "They don't think like us. They don't make decisions like us. Their military doctrines are chaotic by our standards." "Are they a threat?" asked a council member. "Potentially," Vex Moore replied. "Their technology is primitive, but their thinking is dangerous. They see possibilities we would never consider." Back on Earth, Susan was finishing her briefing. "The Council expects us to follow the rules that every other species has followed. But we're not like every other species. So what do we do about their ultimatum?" someone asked. Susan looked around the room. "We reject it, just like the first one. And we prepare." Over the next weeks, Earth's scientists and engineers worked day and night. They developed new technologies that bypassed Council standards. They built ships with unpredictable movement patterns. They trained pilots to make choices that no alien would expect. When the 30 days were up, Earth sent its answer to the Council. The message was short. "Earth respectfully declines your treaty." The Council's response came quickly. All trade with Earth was banned. No Council species could sell to humans or buy from them. But Earth was ready. Their new ships could travel undetected through Council space. Their traders made deals with rebellious groups on younger worlds. And most importantly, their scientists kept working. In a secure lab, Dr. Wright made an important discovery. He rushed to Admiral Kelly's office, excited. "Admiral, I've been studying Council species art and literature," he said. "They have almost no creativity. Their stories follow set patterns. Their music uses standard formulas. They don't innovate." Susan understood immediately. So human unpredictability isn't just useful in battle. It's our greatest strength, Dr. Wright finished. Creativity is rare in the galaxy. and we have more of it than any species they've ever encountered. Susan smiled. Then let's show them what humans can create, especially when someone tells us we can't do something. As Earth prepared for the next council move, one thing was clear. Humanity would not be following anyone else's rules. A year had passed since Earth rejected the Resource Treaty. Despite the Council's sanctions, humans were doing well. They had found ways to trade with border worlds and had developed new technologies that didn't rely on Council resources. The Galactic Council was not happy. Their sanctions hadn't worked. So they tried a new approach. Captain Jack Murphy stood on the bridge of the Earth ship Defiant. His mission was to patrol the edge of human space. Today, something was different. A Council ship was waiting at the border, broadcasting a peaceful message. "They say they have a compromise to offer," said his communications officer. "They want to come to Earth for talks." Jack didn't trust the Council, but orders were orders. The Council ship followed him back to Earth, where representatives waited. In the meeting room, the main Council representative smiled at the human leaders. He was from a species called the Vex, with gray skin and large eyes. "We understand your concerns about our previous treaties," the Vex said. "So we've created a special offer just for humans. We call it the Neural Integration Initiative." He showed them a small device. This neural network would help humans better understand galactic culture. It would make trade and communication so much easier. Many species use them. Admiral Kelly looked suspicious. "What exactly does it do to our brains?" "Nothing harmful," the Vex assured her. "It simply helps align thought patterns to improve understanding between species. We'd like our scientists to study it," Kelly said. The Vex seemed unhappy about this but agreed. Dr. Olivia Martinez, Earth's leading neurologist, took charge of the research. 3 days later, Dr. Martinez called an emergency meeting. Her face was pale as she showed her findings. "This device doesn't just help communication," she explained. "It actually changes how the brain works. It makes thought patterns more like the Council species." She pointed to a brain scan. "This is a normal human brain, showing our unique neural patterns." She showed another scan. "This is what a human brain would look like after using the device. Notice how the patterns are more ordered, more predictable." Jack Murphy, who had been invited to the meeting, spoke up. "They're trying to make us think like them." "Worse," Dr. Martinez said. "The areas most affected control creativity and independent decision-making. This device would make humans more compliant and less innovative. We would lose the very things that make us unique." Admiral Kelly stood up, anger clear on her face. "They couldn't control us with resources, so now they're trying to change who we are." The next day, Earth not only rejected the Neural Treaty but did something bold. They broadcast their findings to every species in the galaxy. The message was clear. The Council had tried to fundamentally change humans without their knowledge. The response was unexpected. Several younger Council races reached out secretly to Earth. They had signed similar treaties years ago. Now they wondered if they too had been changed. On the Council station, meetings became heated. For the first time in 40,000 years, members openly argued with each other. The oldest races, led by the Zithari, insisted the neural network was for the good of all. Younger races weren't so sure anymore. Torlak, the Zithari representative, called for order. "This human problem must be contained. They are causing disorder throughout Council space." A representative from a younger race stood up. "Perhaps we should listen to them, if their claims are true." "They reject our ways," Thorlak interrupted. "They spread dangerous ideas. This cannot continue." Back on Earth, Admiral Kelly met with Earth's leaders. "We've made contact with 7 younger Council species who are questioning their treaties," she reported. "They want to know more about how we maintain our independence." "Are we starting a revolution?" someone asked. Kelly looked thoughtful. "I don't think we started it. I think it's been building for thousands of years. We just showed them it was possible to say no." As Earth began forming quiet alliances with these younger races, one thing became clear. The Galactic Council was facing its first real challenge in 40,000 years, and humanity was at the center of it all. The news spread quickly through Earth's Defense Command. A large group of Council ships was heading toward the solar system. They called themselves a peacekeeping force, but everyone knew what that really meant. Admiral Kelly stood before the main screen, watching the dots that represented the incoming fleet. She had been expecting this. The Council was done with diplomacy. Now they would try to force Earth to obey. "How many ships?" she asked. 32 large vessels, Admiral," replied her tactical officer. "Standard Council formation. They'll reach our outer defense line in 6 hours." Kelly nodded. "Send the signal to all ships. Operation Wildcard begins now." Across the solar system, Earth's small fleet moved into position. Unlike the Council ships, which traveled in tight, organized formations, the human vessels spread out in what looked like a random pattern. This was exactly what Kelly had planned. On one of these ships, pilot Nicole Harris checked her systems one last time. Her small, fast attack craft was hidden behind an asteroid in the belt between Mars and Jupiter. 11 other pilots were similarly hidden throughout the system. "Remember your training," came Kelly's voice over the comm. "The Council relies on AI battle systems that look for standard patterns and formations. We don't use standard anything. That's our advantage." The Council fleet entered the solar system in a perfect V formation. Their lead ship broadcast a message. "Attention Earth vessels. This is a peacekeeping mission authorized by the Galactic Council. Power down your weapons and prepare to be boarded. Resistance will result in the use of force." Admiral Kelly's response was brief. "We do not recognize your authority in Earth space. Leave immediately." The Council commander seemed surprised by the refusal. The large alien ships moved forward, weapons charging. They expected Earth's fleet to either attack head-on or retreat in formation. Instead, they found nothing. "Where are they?" asked the Council commander. Their scans showed no large groups of ships. That's when Nicole and her squadron struck. 12 small, fast ships darted out from hiding places all across the asteroid belt. They moved in patterns no Council tactical eye had ever seen before. Each pilot made their own decisions, changing direction in ways that seemed random. The Council's targeting systems couldn't predict where the human ships would be. Their weapons fired and missed again and again. Meanwhile, the small Earth vessels fired precisely at key points on the larger ships. In her command center, Admiral Kelly watched the battle unfold. "Now comes Phase 2, she said. "Launch the drones." Hundreds of small, unmanned craft joined the fight. Some carried weapons, others just created confusion on the Council's sensors. The human pilots mixed among them, impossible to tell apart. On the Council flagship, alarms sounded as systems failed. Their attack pattern makes no sense. The commander shouted. There is no logic to their movements. 3 of the largest Council ships had been disabled without being destroyed. Several smaller ones had retreated after taking damage. Not a single Earth vessel had been lost. Nicole's voice came over the comm as she flew past a disabled Council dreadnought. "They expected us to fight like they do. Big mistake." After 2 hours of chaotic battle, the remaining Council ships gathered and jumped away from the solar system. They had never faced anything like Earth's defense. In the aftermath, Admiral Kelly addressed Earth's leaders. "Today we showed the Council something they've never seen before. Every species they've encountered fights according to predictable strategies that their AIs can counter. We don't." "Will they be back?" someone asked. "Yes," Kelly said firmly, "but not right away. First, they'll try to understand what happened here. They'll study our tactics, try to find patterns. They won't find any, because there weren't any." Each pilot made their own choices in the moment. On the Council homeworld, military analysts watched recordings of the battle in stunned silence. Their perfect formations and advanced technology had been defeated by what looked like chaos to them. For the first time in thousands of years, the Council faced an enemy they couldn't predict. "We need to revise our approach to humans. One analyst finally said. A Zithari commander nodded slowly. Indeed, they are more dangerous than we thought. 3 months after the failed military action, the Galactic Council tried a new approach. Their ambassadors arrived on Earth with friendly smiles and open hands. This time, they offered what seemed like a generous deal, a cultural exchange program. Commander Peter Grant sat in the back of the meeting room as the council representatives explained their offer. He was there as security, but he listened carefully to every word. Since joining Earth's Space Forces, he had learned to be suspicious of the council's generous offers. "We have been too forceful," admitted the lead ambassador, a blue-skinned Zithari. "Perhaps we should first learn to understand each other better. We propose a cultural exchange. Your art, music, and literature shared with our worlds. Our knowledge and history shared with yours." The Earth representatives seemed pleased. This was the first reasonable offer from the council. Peter wasn't convinced. During a break in the talks, he asked to see the full treaty document. That night, he stayed up late reading every line of the agreement. In Section 47, hidden among technical details, he found what he was looking for. The treaty classified human cultural works as potentially destabilizing and limited their distribution to controlled settings. Another section required council approval for any human art, music, or stories before they could be shared. The next morning, Peter showed his findings to Earth's negotiation team. "They're afraid of our ideas," he explained. "They want to control what we share and how we share it." When the talks resumed, Earth's lead negotiator confronted the council ambassador. "We've found concerning restrictions in your treaty. Why do you want to limit our cultural exports?" The ambassador's friendly smile disappeared. "Some forms of expression can be disruptive to established order. We merely wish to ensure harmony." "You mean you want to censor what we say?" Peter spoke up from his seat. He hadn't planned to talk, but he couldn't stay quiet. "You're afraid our stories, our music, our art will give other species ideas about freedom." The room fell silent. The ambassador's face hardened. "Human culture contains dangerous concepts. Your stories often feature rebellion against authority. Your music encourages emotional responses that can lead to irrational behavior. These are mimetic contaminants." Peter stood up, anger clear on his face. "Our culture isn't a disease. It's who we are. We tell stories about fighting for freedom because we value freedom. We make music that stirs emotions because emotions matter to us." The talks broke down quickly after that. The council representatives left Earth without a signed treaty. But Peter wasn't finished. He went to diplomat Diane Foster with an idea. "If they're afraid of our culture, then our culture is a weapon," he said. "Let's use it." Diane liked the plan. Within days, Earth ships were broadcasting human music, stories, and art throughout council space. They bypassed official channels, sending directly to ordinary people on all worlds. They translated everything into all known languages. Council ships tried to block the broadcasts, but there were too many. Earth had learned from their battle tactics. Don't use patterns. Don't be predictable. The broadcasts came from different locations, at different times, using different methods. On younger council worlds, people heard human music for the first time. They read stories about heroes who fought against impossible odds. They saw art that expressed emotions they had been taught to suppress. The council called an emergency meeting. Reports were coming in from across their territory. On 7 worlds, people had started creating their own art inspired by human examples. On 3 worlds, there had been public gatherings where people played human music. "This is worse than military action," said a senior council member. "They are attacking the foundation of our society." The Zithari High Counselor agreed. Human culture must be classified as a Type 3 disruptive influence. All contact with it is forbidden. But it was too late. The ideas had already spread. On dozens of worlds, especially among the younger species, people were asking questions they had never asked before. Why did the council control everything? Why couldn't they make their own choices? On Earth, Peter watched the reports come in with satisfaction. "They tried to stop our ships," he told Diane. "They never figured out how to stop our ideas." The Grand Council chamber had never been so loud. Representatives from all 32 member species shouted over each other. Some demanded action against Earth. Others called for new approaches. The Galactic Council, stable for 5,000 years, was in chaos. High Counselor Zex Toll, the oldest Zithari, raised all 4 of his arms. "Silence," he commanded. His voice echoed through the chamber. When the room quieted, he spoke again. "This human problem must be resolved. We will summon Earth to a formal debate. Here, before all species, they will see the wisdom of our ways." On Earth, the message arrived with surprising politeness. The Council invited Earth to send a representative to speak about humanity's place in the galactic community. They promised safe passage and a fair hearing. Earth's leaders chose Professor William Chen to represent them. He wasn't a politician or a soldier. He was a teacher of philosophy and history. He understood what made humans different. When Professor Chen arrived at the Council station, thousands of aliens watched. Some were hostile, some curious. Many came from younger species who had heard human ideas and music. They wanted to see these strange creatures who had caused so much trouble. The debate hall was circular with seats rising up like a bowl. At the center stood 2 platforms, one for the Council speaker, one for Professor Chen. High Counselor Zex Toll took his place first. "For 50,000 years, the ancient alien began. The Council has maintained peace and order in the galaxy. Each species has its role. Each contributes according to its abilities. This is the natural way of things." The counselor explained how the galaxy worked under their guidance. Older, more advanced species provided protection and wisdom. Younger species provided resources and labor until they advanced enough to join the higher ranks. "This system has prevented wars. It has helped species develop safely," Zex Toll said. "Why would humans reject a system that has worked for so long?" Professor Chen listened politely. When his turn came, he stepped onto his platform. He was small compared to many aliens, but his voice was clear and strong. "We thank the Council for this chance to speak," he began. "Humans come from a world with many nations, many systems of government. We have tried ruling as you do, with the strong controlling the weak. It never lasts." Chen explained Earth's history, how humans had moved from empires to democracies, from forced cooperation to voluntary alliances. "The Council asks why we reject your treaties. We reject them because they take away choice," he said. "Your system may prevent wars between species, but it creates another kind of conflict, the conflict between what people could become and what you allow them to be." A murmur ran through the crowd. Several representatives from younger species nodded in agreement. "We propose something different," Chen continued. "Voluntary cooperation instead of treaty-bound obligation. Let species choose their own paths. Share knowledge freely, not as a reward for obedience." The Council members looked shocked. This wasn't just a rejection of their treaties, it was a rejection of their entire system. But before they could respond, a representative from a species called the Moordek stood up. "The human speaks wisdom," said the Moordek, its voice wavering with age. "Our histories tell that we once held similar values. We were guided away from them over many generations." This revelation caused an uproar. The Moordek were among the oldest council races. If they had been guided away from freedom, what did that mean for other species? More representatives began to speak up. A young race called the Nith admitted they had always questioned the resource treaties, but had been afraid to object. A mid-tier species revealed they had hidden technological advances to avoid council restrictions. High Counselor Zex Toll tried to regain control. "This is not the purpose of this debate. We are here to show humans the error of their ways." But it was too late. The chamber had erupted into open disagreement for the first time in thousands of years. Professor Chen watched as the perfect unity of the council fractured before his eyes. A message from Admiral Kelly appeared on his private screen. Well done. Keep pushing. The younger species are watching broadcasts of this across the galaxy. They're seeing that questions are possible. Chen nodded slightly. Earth hadn't come to join the Council's perfect order. They had come to show that order wasn't the only option. And across the galaxy, others were beginning to see it too. The weeks after the Great Debate changed everything. Earth was no longer alone in its stand against the Council. 7 younger species reached out secretly, asking for meetings away from Council observers. Together, they formed what Earth called the Coalition of Independence. Admiral Kelly sat at the head of the table in Earth's main space station. Around her were representatives from all 8 coalition species. Some looked almost human. Others were very different. One was a floating cloud of gas. Another looked like a walking tree. But all shared the same desire: freedom from Council control. The Council has declared our coalition illegal, Kelly told them. They have placed sanctions on all our worlds. We need to be ready for more aggressive actions. The alien representatives nodded or made their species equivalent gestures. They had all expected this. Earth has the least advanced technology among us, Kelly continued, but we have something the Council fears: innovation without limits. We've been developing new systems that bypass Council restrictions. We're ready to share them with all of you. On screens around the room, technical plans appeared. Earth scientists had created new engines, weapons, and communication systems unlike anything the Council used. Without Council restrictions on research, Earth had made advances in 2 years that would have taken decades under Council guidance. These plans are yours, Kelly said. No treaties, no obligations, just a gift between equals. The representatives were amazed. The Council had always controlled technology, giving it as rewards for obedience. The idea of sharing freely was new to them. As the coalition worlds began building with Earth's designs, something unexpected happened. They improved them. Each species added their own knowledge, their own approaches. Technology advanced faster than ever before. The most important breakthrough came from Earth itself. Dr. Wright and his team created a new FTL communication system that didn't use the Council's network. For the first time, species could talk across the galaxy without the Council listening or controlling the flow of information. Commander Ryan Banks led the mission to distribute this technology. His ship, disguised as a common trader, traveled to worlds across the galaxy. Some were coalition members. Others were worlds where people had heard human ideas and music and wanted to know more. This is more dangerous than any weapon, Ryan told his crew as they installed the first system on a distant world called Nyx. With this, people can share ideas freely. The Council can't stop them, can't filter what they say. He was right. As the communication network spread, information flowed freely for the first time in galactic history. People on Council worlds learned about the coalition. They discovered that treaties they had thought were fair were actually designed to keep them dependent. On dozens of worlds, especially those of younger species, people began to question the Council openly. Some demanded new treaties. Others simply ignored Council directives. The perfect order was breaking down. The Council responded with threats and punishments. They sent ships to coalition worlds. They arrested those who spoke against them. But they couldn't stop the flow of information. The galactic economy began to change too. For thousands of years, the Council had controlled all major trade routes. Now coalition ships carried goods directly between worlds, bypassing Council taxes and restrictions. New markets opened. Resources that had been tightly controlled became available to all. Earth ships led the way, showing trade routes the Council had declared unsafe or impossible. Human captains took risks that shocked other species but opened new possibilities. In her office on Earth, Admiral Kelly received reports from across the galaxy. Coalition worlds were thriving despite Council sanctions. The new communication network grew daily, and most importantly, the Council was losing its grip on power. They built their system on control of information and resources, she told Earth's leaders. We've taken both away. Now we wait. For what? Someone asked. For them to realize they have to talk to us as equals, Kelly replied. The old galaxy is gone. They just don't know it yet. 3 years had passed since humanity's first contact with the Galactic Council. In that time, everything had changed. The Council, once powerful and unquestioned, now controlled only half of its former territory. The rest had joined the coalition or declared themselves neutral. Today, the Council had called an emergency session. For the first time in its history, it had invited non-members to speak. Admiral Kelly and Dr. Wright stood on the platform where Professor Chen had once stood. This time, the chamber was quieter. The Council members watched them with a mix of anger, fear, and in some cases, respect. The Council has requested this meeting, said the new High Counselor, a Zithari named Velfar. The old High Counselor had been removed after failing to solve the human problem. You have caused great disruption in the galaxy, Velfar continued. Many systems have fallen into disorder. Treaties that stood for thousands of years have been broken. Admiral Kelly nodded. Change is often difficult, but necessary. What do you want? Asked Velfar, getting to the point. You have rejected every treaty. You have encouraged others to do the same. What would satisfy humanity? Kelly looked at the faces watching her. Many species she recognized. Others were so different, it was hard to read their expressions. But all were waiting for her answer. We want what everyone wants, she said. The freedom to choose our own path. The right to trade, explore, and develop without artificial limits. We want to be treated as equals, not as resources to be managed. She turned to Dr. Wright, who stepped forward with a datapad. We have prepared a new treaty, he explained. One based on mutual respect and true cooperation. Screens around the chamber displayed the document. Council members began reading, their expressions changing from suspicion to surprise. This treaty has no resource quotas, one member said. No technology restrictions. It has no restrictions at all, said another, sounding confused. It does, Dr. Wright corrected. It restricts what the strong can take from the weak. It prevents any species from claiming authority over others based on age or advancement. It guarantees all beings the right to their own cultures, their own beliefs, their own choices. The chamber erupted in discussion. Some council members rejected the idea immediately. Others, especially those from species that had nearly joined the coalition, seemed interested. This would end the council as we know it, Velfar said finally. Yes, Admiral Kelly agreed. The old council would end. A new organization would begin, one where all species have equal voices, one that helps and supports rather than controls and restricts. She looked around the chamber. The galaxy is already changing. Half your members have left. Others will follow. You can fight this change and lose everything, or you can help shape a new future. For a long moment, silence filled the chamber. Then, surprisingly, one of the oldest council members spoke up. She was a Zithari elder who rarely participated in debates. I have watched our council for 20,000 years, the elder said slowly. I have seen how we gradually moved from guiding younger species to controlling them. Perhaps the humans are right. Perhaps it is time for change. More voices joined in, some agreeing, others arguing. But the debate had shifted. They were no longer discussing whether to accept human demands, but how to adapt to a new galactic reality. 3 days later, the treaty was signed. Not by all council members. Some of the oldest and most powerful refused. But enough signed to begin the transformation. The Galactic Council would become the Interstellar Alliance, with equal representation for all species regardless of age or technology. As Admiral Kelly and Dr. Wright prepared to return to Earth, Velfar approached them. You've changed the course of galactic history, he said, not through conquest or technology, but through ideas. No species has ever done that before. Kelly smiled. That's what makes humans different. We never stop asking why things can't be better. Across the galaxy, the news spread quickly over the new communication networks. After 50,000 years of hierarchy and control, a new age of cooperation had begun. And it had started because one small, young species had refused to follow the rules. Humanity had become known throughout the stars not as conquerors or warriors, but as the species that never surrendered and the breakers of chains. And that, they decided, was the greatest victory of all.